Welcome back to our deep dive into Marcus Aurelius's Meditations. Remember last time, book 2, all about mastering your inner world?
Yeah.
Well, hold on tight, because in book 3,
It
things get
really,
truly, huge.
Marcus Aurelius basically zoomed out, way out.
To the higher universe.
Exactly. The cosmos and interconnect. I gotta say, just that title, I'm already picturing like a new age self-help book.
Right.
But this is Stoicism. This is a Roman emperor. So
Yeah.
what's he getting at with this whole cosmos thing?
Well, even as Emperor, Marcus Aurelius was wrestling with some pretty deep questions. I mean, the kind anyone might think about late at night, what is this universe?
Right.
Where do we fit into the grand scheme of things? And how do we even make sense of our lives when, faced with the sheer immensity of everything?
So he's having an existential crisis while running an empire.
Pretty much.
We can relate to that. But, okay, does he actually offer any answers? Or does he just sort of spiral into cosmic despair? Oh, he offers answers. And they might surprise you. He says basically that we are all interconnected, parts of a universe that's rational,
Okay.
but also indifferent.
Indifferent. How is that supposed to be comforting? That sounds kind of bleak, to be honest.
It's not about the universe being cruel or anything. Indifferent, in this sense, means the universe just isn't concerned with our little dramas,
Okay.
our desires. It's operating according to its own laws, what the Stoics called nature.
Hmm.
So less about the universe catering to us, more about us understanding its rules.
I'm starting to see where you're going with this.
Right.
But you said interconnected. How so?
Imagine the internet,
Okay.
this vast network where everything is connected. Obviously, Marcus Aurelius didn't have the internet.
Right.
But he viewed the universe as this single unified organism, everything connected in a similar way. We're each just a tiny part of that whole, like a cell in a body.
So instead of feeling insignificant, we're part of something larger.
Exactly.
I like that. But then what's our role in this, giant cosmic organism? Are we just supposed to go with the flow?
Not exactly. Stoicism says our role is to live virtuously,
Okay.
act rationally, and contribute to the harmony of the cosmos.
All right, break that down for me a little bit. Living virtuously sounds great on paper, but what does it actually look like in everyday life?
It's like an orchestra.
Okay.
Each musician playing their part, each instrument, contributing to the overall harmony of the music.
Right.
In the same way, we each have a part to play in this grand cosmic symphony.
Okay, I'm getting the picture. But, I'm also thinking about all those times when someone plays their instrument badly and it just
Yeah.
throws the whole orchestra off. So how do we make sure we're playing the right notes, so to speak?
That's where aligning our lives with nature comes in.
Okay.
And by nature, the Stoics don't just mean trees and flowers.
So not just hugging trees, although I do enjoy a good tree hug.
It's more about the inherent laws and order of the universe. The rules of the game, so to speak.
So nature is more like universal laws. Give me an example.
Gravity,
Okay.
cycle of the seasons, cause and effect. These are all expressions of nature, according to the Stoics. It's about understanding these inherent principles
Right.
and then aligning our actions with them.
Okay. Starting to click. But if we're all connected in this web of nature, does that mean we have no control over anything?
Ah, good question.
What about free will?
That's where the idea of accepting fate comes in.
Okay.
And don't worry, it's not as passive or predetermined as it might sound.
Whoa! Good, because I'm not a big fan of the whole, puppet on a string scenario.
No, Stoic fate, it's not about resigning yourself to whatever happens. It's more about intelligent acceptance. You acknowledge that certain things are just outside of your control.
Like the weather.
Exactly.
I can't control if it rains on my parade, but I can control whether I let it ruin my day, right?
Exactly. You can't control external events, but you can control your reactions to them. That's where your power lies. It's like, imagine yourself as a surfer, riding the waves. You can't control the ocean, but you can learn to surf skillfully,
I like that analogy.
adapting to the ever-changing conditions.
Riding the waves of fate. But that brings up another point. Even the best surfers, they wipe it out eventually.
Right.
And that wave, it just keeps on rolling, whether they're on their board or not.
And that brings us to another key aspect of Book 3, the impermanence of life.
Okay.
It's a topic most people avoid, but Marcus Aurelius, he dives right in.
And how does he frame something as, heavy as the fact that everything eventually ends?
He finds a sense of peace in it, actually, sees it as a natural part of that cosmic order. He famously writes, "Time is a sort of river of passing events. No sooner is a thing brought to sight than it is swept by, and another takes its place, and this too will be swept away."
Okay, that is a beautiful image, but I could see how some people would find that kind of depressing. How is knowing that everything is fleeting supposed to help us live better?
Think of a sunset. It's breathtakingly beautiful because it fades. The impermanence of things makes them precious. By accepting this, we can savor each moment, appreciate our relationships, make the most of the time we have.
So it's about shifting our perspective from like fear of loss to gratitude for what we do have right now.
Exactly.
Not dwelling on the end, but really embracing the present moment.
That's a great way to put it. And that brings us to the practical side of Book 3. How do we actually live these ideas?
Because it's one thing to talk about cosmic harmony and accepting fate, but how do we apply that to, a Tuesday afternoon filled with deadlines and errands?
Right.
Give me the actionable steps.
Well, Marcus Aurelius offers this powerful metaphor. He sees us as athletes in life's games.
Okay, now you've got my attention. I'm a sucker for a good sports analogy. Tell me more.
He believed that life is this game we should strive to play well,
Right.
regardless of the outcome.
Okay.
The focus should be on the process, not just the result. Are you giving it your all? Are you playing by the rules? That's what matters.
So it's not about winning or losing, but about how you play the game. Kind of like those participation trophies everyone makes fun of. But this time, it's actually profound.
Exactly. And for Marcus Aurelius, playing well, that meant embodying those Stoic virtues, being rational, just courageous and temperate.
So we're all athletes in this grand game of life, striving to live up to our own internal standards of excellence. I love that. But how does this tie back to the interconnectedness we were talking about earlier?
Marcus Aurelius emphasizes this beautifully when he writes, "Often consider the connection of all things in the universe and their relation to one another. For in a manner, all things are implicated with one another, and in this way, all are friendly to one another."
All things are implicated with one another. That's a powerful statement. But wait, he calls this interconnectedness friendly. Seriously, have you seen the comment section on the internet lately?
It might seem counterintuitive in our modern world, but remember, friendly, in the Stoic sense, it just means everything is part of that same cosmic order.
So even the internet trolls.
Even the internet trolls, although I'm not sure Marcus Aurelius would have approved of their methods. The point is, everything is interconnected. Our actions have a ripple effect.
Okay.
Think of the butterfly effect. Even small actions can have far-reaching consequences.
Okay, I see what you mean. It's about recognizing that we're all part of this grand, interconnected web. Our choices, however small, they have an impact.
Exactly. And that leads us to a very specific piece of advice from Marcus Aurelius on dealing with this impermanence we've been discussing.
Okay.
Something about famous dead emperors.
Dead emperors. This should be good.
He writes, "Let nothing disturb thee, for all is according to nature, and in a little time there will be nobody and nowhere, like Hadrian and Augustus."
Okay, that got dark quickly. Even for Stoicism, that's a bit morbid.
It might sound harsh, but there's wisdom in it. He's reminding us of our own mortality, not to make us despair, but to motivate us.
So it's like a cosmic wake-up call. Don't waste your precious time on trivial matters because, hey, one day it'll all be over.
Exactly. By accepting our mortality, we can find more meaning in the present moment. It's opposed to action, to live with intention, appreciate what we have, make the most of the time we've been given.
Okay, I'm starting to get the big picture here, but how do we take all of this cosmic wisdom and apply it to our everyday lives? How do we actually become those athletes in life games?
That's a great question, and I think Marcus Aurelius offers some very specific guidance on that, but we've covered a lot of ground already.
We have.
So let's take a pause here.
Perfect. We'll come back and dive into those practical applications of cosmic stoicism.
Sounds good?
Right after a quick break. Don't go anywhere. Okay, so we're back and ready to get practical. How do we take these, cosmic ideas from Marcus Aurelius and actually apply them to our everyday lives? Because, let's be real, it's one thing to talk about accepting fate when you're pondering the universe, but a whole other thing when you're, stuck in traffic or dealing with a frustrating coworker.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. That's where the rubber meets the road, so to speak. And Marcus Aurelius does give us some concrete tools for bridging that gap.
Okay, give me those tools, because I think we could all use a little stoic wisdom in those everyday moments.
Well, one of the most powerful tools is that cosmic perspective we were talking about earlier. Remember how we talked about zooming out mentally?
Right, like picturing yourself floating in space, seeing the Earth as this tiny speck. I actually tried that the other day while waiting for my slow computer to boot up, and it really helped. My frustration just seemed kind of silly when I thought about the vastness of the universe.
Exactly. It's all about intentionally shifting your perspective. So when you're feeling stressed or overwhelmed by something, just take a moment to zoom out mentally. Imagine the vastness of the universe, billions of galaxies, countless stars. And then try to find that tiny little speck that represents your problem.
It's like you're suddenly seeing your worries through a different lens. They don't disappear, but they definitely shrink in comparison. But what about those times when we're grappling with bigger questions, the kind that keep us up at night? The stuff Marcus Aurelius himself was wrestling with.
That's where spending time in nature can be incredibly powerful. whether it's a walk in the park, a hike in the mountains, or even just looking up at the night sky. Immersing yourself in nature can really help you connect with something much greater than yourself.
Oh, I totally agree. There's something about being in nature that just puts things in perspective. Reminds you that you're part of this vast, interconnected web of life.
Precisely, it can evoke this sense of awe and wonder, a reminder of our place in the grand scheme of things. And sometimes that's all it takes to shift our perspective. But I know what you're thinking. We can't always escape to the mountains when we're feeling stressed.
You read my mind. So what about those times when we're stuck in the thick of it, like rush hour traffic or a never-ending email chain? How do we tap into that cosmic perspective without, taking a mental vacation?
That's where visualization comes in. It's a quick and easy way to shift your mindset, no matter where you are. Close your eyes, imagine yourself floating in space, looking down at Earth. Picture the continents, the oceans, the swirling clouds. Feel the vastness of the universe and how small you are in comparison to it all.
I love that. It's like a mental reset button. Helps you detach from the immediate chaos and reconnect with that sense of peace and perspective. But let's be honest, it's easy to get caught up in the daily grind and forget all about cosmic perspective.
You're absolutely right. It takes practice and conscious effort to actually integrate these principles into our daily lives. But the more we practice, the easier it becomes. Think of it like building a muscle.
So we need to make mindfulness, nature, and visualization a regular part of our routine.
Exactly. And I know that might sound daunting, but even small steps can make a big difference. Try starting your day with a few minutes of mindfulness meditation. Take a walk in nature during your lunch break. End your day by reflecting on what you're grateful for.
Those are great suggestions. It's about making small, consistent choices to align our thoughts, actions, and attitudes with these Stoic principles. But what about when it comes to dealing with other people, especially those who, let's just say, aren't exactly embodying Stoic virtues?
That's where remembering that idea of accepting fate and focusing on what you can control becomes crucial. You can't control how other people act, but you can control your reactions to them.
So easier said than done, right?
Absolutely. But remember, Stoicism is all about aligning your actions with virtue and reason. So ask yourself, how would Marcus Aurelius respond in this situation? What would be the most rational, virtuous approach?
Okay, I can see how that could be helpful. Instead of getting swept up in anger or frustration, you pause and think about the bigger picture. But doesn't that take a lot of self-awareness, like catching yourself in those moments before reacting?
Yes. And that's where the practice of mindfulness comes in again. The more aware you are of your own thoughts and emotions, the more easily you can choose how to respond, rather than just reacting on autopilot.
So mindfulness isn't just about finding inner peace. It's also about becoming more skillful in navigating the challenges of daily life.
Exactly. And that's where Marcus Aurelius offers another piece of powerful, yet somewhat morbid advice. Maybe those dead emperors he keeps mentioning.
How can I forget Hadrian and Augustus, right? It's like their ghosts are haunting this book.
He writes, "Let nothing disturb thee, for all is according to nature, and in a little time thou wilt be nobody and nowhere, like Hadrian and Augustus."
Okay, sensing a theme here. He really wants us to remember we're not going to live forever.
He's not trying to be morbid, but rather to highlight the preciousness of time. By contemplating our own mortality, we're reminded to focus on what truly matters, to not waste our time on trivial pursuits or pointless arguments.
So it's like a cosmic reminder to prioritize our values, our relationships, the things that bring us meaning.
Precisely. And that brings us to another practical application of cosmic stoicism, discerning what we can and cannot control.
We talked about that earlier in the context of accepting fate, but how does this apply to our daily lives, beyond just accepting that we can't control the weather?
It means recognizing that while we can't control external events, we can control our reactions to them. We can choose to respond to challenges with virtue, reason, and acceptance, rather than anger, frustration, or despair.
So it's about taking responsibility for our own inner state, regardless of what's happening around us.
Yes, and this applies to everything, from dealing with difficult people to facing setbacks and disappointments. It's about choosing to focus on what we can influence, our own thoughts, actions, and attitudes.
I'm starting to see a pattern here. Cosmic Stoicism seems to be all about shifting our focus from the external to the internal.
That's a brilliant observation. It's about recognizing that true peace and happiness come not from external circumstances, but from our own inner state of mind.
And that inner state of mind is cultivated through virtue, reason, and acceptance of what we can't control.
Precisely. And when we cultivate these qualities within ourselves, we naturally start to act in ways to contribute to the harmony of the cosmos.
It's like a ripple effect. By focusing on our own inner development, we actually create positive change in the world around us.
Exactly. And this brings us back to that idea of interconnectedness. Everything we do, no matter how small, has an impact. Our actions ripple outwards, influencing the lives of others and contributing to the overall web of life.
So, cosmic stoicism isn't just about personal enlightenment, it's about recognizing our interconnectedness and acting in ways that benefit the whole.
Precisely. It's about understanding that we're all part of something much greater than ourselves, and that our actions have consequences that extend far beyond our immediate sphere of influence.
This has given me a lot to think about. So, we've talked about the big ideas, the challenges, and even some practical tips. Is there like one piece of advice that really sums up this cosmic approach to life?
One of Marcus Aurelius' most enduring quotes is, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one."
Wow. Short, simple, and incredibly powerful. It's a call to action, to stop theorizing and start living.
Exactly. Cosmic Stoicism isn't just about reading and thinking about these ideas. It's about embodying them in your daily actions. Be the change you want to see in the world, as they say.
All right, that's our time for today. But before we go, any final thoughts for our listeners as they continue to explore these ideas?
Remember, cultivating a cosmic perspective is an ongoing practice. It's about making small, conscious choices each day to align your thoughts, actions, and attitudes with the principles of cosmic stoicism.
Great advice. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into Marcus Aurelius's Meditations, Book 3. We'll be back next time to explore a new topic. Until then, keep looking up at the stars, stay curious, and keep learning. Okay, so we're back for our final segment on cosmic stoicism, and I'm ready for like more of those practical techniques for actually cultivating that cosmic perspective in daily life.
Perfect. Because, as we've been discussing, it's one thing to understand these concepts intellectually, but quite another to really embody them in your experience.
Right, it's like the difference between reading a cookbook and actually cooking a delicious meal. You need to get your hands dirty, so to speak.
Exactly. So let's dive into some techniques that can help you bridge that gap between theory and practice.
Okay, I'm all ears.
One powerful technique is the practice of mindfulness. Just taking a few moments each day to simply observe your breath, your thoughts, your sensations can really help you become more aware of your internal state, and in turn, less reactive to external events.
So it's about like creating that space between what's happening around you and your automatic reaction to it.
Precisely. Mindfulness helps you detach from that constant chatter of your mind and tap into a deeper sense of peace and presence. You become more like an observer of your thoughts and emotions, rather than being swept away by them.
I can see how that would be super helpful in those moments when you're feeling like overwhelmed or stressed. But what about when you're facing those bigger kind of existential questions, the kind that Marcus Aurelius himself wrestled with? How can we connect with that sense of cosmic awe and wonder more regularly?
Spending time in nature is incredibly powerful for that. Whether it's a walk in the park, a hike in the mountains, or even just looking up at the night sky. Connecting with the natural world can really help you feel a sense of belonging to something much greater than yourself.
It's like a reminder that we're not separate from nature, but a part of it.
Exactly. And it can evoke a sense of humility and awe that can shift your perspective in some really profound ways. Sometimes, just being in nature is enough to make your worries feel smaller, less significant.
I love that. Nature really does have a way of putting things in perspective. But, we can't always escape to the mountain or the beach when we're feeling stressed. What about those times when you're stuck in the middle of a traffic jam, or dealing with a difficult coworker, or facing some other everyday challenge? How do you access that cosmic perspective then?
Visualization can be a powerful tool for that. Just close your eyes and imagine yourself floating in space, looking down at Earth. See the continents, the oceans, the swirling clouds. Feel the vastness of the universe and your own smallness in comparison.
It's like hitting the reset button on your perspective.
Exactly. It's a quick and easy way to detach from the immediate situation and tap into a sense of cosmic equanimity. And, the more you practice these visualizations, the easier it becomes to access that sense of perspective when you need it most.
These are all great techniques, but I imagine it takes consistent effort to integrate them into our lives.
You're absolutely right. Cultivating a cosmic perspective is an ongoing practice. It's about making small, conscious choices each day to align your thoughts, actions, and attitudes with the principles of cosmic stoicism.
So it's not about achieving some kind of perfect stoic state, but rather about continually striving to live in alignment with these ideas.
Precisely. It's a journey, not a destination. And every step you take in that direction, every time you choose to respond with virtue and reason, Every time you connect with that sense of cosmic perspective, you're strengthening those Stoic muscles, so to speak.
I like that analogy. So it's about building those habits, those mental and emotional patterns that support a more stoic way of life.
Exactly. And the more you practice, the more natural it becomes. It's like learning to play an instrument. At first, it takes a lot of effort and concentration, but over time, it becomes more effortless and joyful.
That's really encouraging. So as we wrap up this deep dive, what's like the one piece of advice you would give to our listeners to help them on their journey toward embracing this cosmic perspective?
Remember that quote from Marcus Aurelius we discussed earlier? Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be one.
Powerful words.
He's reminding us that cosmic stoicism isn't just about abstract ideas. It's about embodying those ideas in your daily actions, your interactions with others, and your contributions to the world.
It's about walking the walk, not just talking the talk.
Precisely. And when you do that, when you strive to live virtuously, act rationally, and contribute to the harmony of the cosmos, you not only transform your own life, but you also make a positive impact on the world around you.
Well, that brings us to the end of our deep dive into Marcus Aurelius's Meditations, Book 3. We've covered a lot of ground, from the vastness of the universe to the power of mindfulness. I hope you've gained some valuable insights and inspiration for your own journey.
It's been a pleasure exploring these ideas with you. And remember, even in the midst of all the chaos and uncertainty of life, there's a deep sense of peace and purpose to be found in embracing our interconnectedness with the cosmos.
Beautifully said. Until next time, keep looking up at the stars, stay curious, and keep exploring the wisdom of the Stoics. ACOE.